Am I even center? Center-ish. There you go. Oh, live chat, there we go. Pop out chat. Alright, looks like we're good. I'm trying to find, still messing with this here. All right. So like I said, I'm just going to do a quick a video live stream, just doing a Q&A. I'm having some troubles with my live streaming equipment and whatnot. I'm back up on my phone. So we're just going to do a quick Q&A until I'm able to get everything back and up and running the way I want it to. I don't feel like it's very beneficial to be doing it this way, just because I can't show you like I can't put in screens, examples, and show you different things. Top Young Killer 43. Any advice for getting all dirt off a window? Clean it a lot. Use razor blades, soapy water. Use as many rags as you need to make sure it's clean, and flush it out a lot. And that's pretty much it. Do it once, twice, 3, 4, 5. Do it as many times as it takes to get it right. So yeah, like I said, we're just gonna be doing a simple Q&A today. Nothing too long, but just long enough so that I have enough people to come in and kind of check it out. I'm trying to figure out where the link is here so I can share it on my social media, but it doesn't look like that's possible. Clearly, I'm not like a tech guy. Playa CVR, what's up, man? How you doing? How you doing? I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just got back in from going to a festival with the family, so I haven't been doing the live streams in a couple weeks just because I've been so annoyed with all the hardware. My hardware and stuff just wasn't able to do it. If you saw my live stream a couple weeks ago, the audio was good, but the video, just my laptop isn't strong enough to pump out the quality that I need, or even a minimum amount. So sorry about that, guys. Just got a garage prepared for business. Alright, so just got my garage prepared for business. What's the best temperature to have it set on? It is snowing here now in Franklin, North Carolina. I think it's NC, North Carolina, yeah. Best temperature, I would probably say 70 degrees, just something you're comfortable with, comfortable at. Obviously no higher than 90, but you don't want it that high. And then just warm enough that you can, that the snow melts off. It's just going to take some more time. If you're in the northern part of the country where it snows during the winter, like me in Florida, it doesn't snow. So If you are up north and it does snow, it does become of a problem during the winter time. Just give it more time. That way you have enough time once the car rolls into the shop, you can dust it off and get all the snow off, and then it's going to have to melt, and then you're going to have to wipe the car down. Just because if you don't wipe the car down, by the end of it, you're soaking wet, and obviously that snow is cold, and it's going to be for a miserable day. So I'd probably say 70, 75 degrees, something that you're comfortable with. Get a lot of towels and give some extra time so that you can tint the car, but also clean it and get all the water off. Also, let me know in the comments below. I think the video is pretty good. Make sure the audio is good. I got a small shotgun mic set up here too, so it should be good. You might have a little bit of an echo. This room is not treated for audio, so that's what I can do here. Do you like tint slime or tint tack? What is the best cleaning squeegee? I can't say anything about tint slime or tint tack because I've never used it. The only thing I use is soapy water, and that's pretty much it. But cleaning squeegee, I use a side swipe just because they're like 6 inches and they're wider. I can clean a lot more, but you can just get a yellow turbo squeegee. What I suggest, don't buy the 4-inch bars. There's like 18-inch long bars, and that way you can chop up those bars. Maybe you want a 6-inch squeegee for cleaning, and then maybe like a small, tiny little squeegee for like doing quarters or small or hard to reach quarters. And what I also like to do is I'll take the bar and I'll cut a super long angle just so I can get really deep into some quarters where you can't normally reach with just your fingers. But that's how that's my best cleaning. And I use 2 different squeegees. I'll use one squeegee just for cleaning and another one for installation. That's something that's really beneficial to me, I think, just because say I'm using one and I'm cleaning it and I have debris and dirt on there and I don't wipe it off and I use the same exact squeegee to install, I could scratch the film with the dirty squeegee. So I mean, it works either way. I've seen tinters use both methods. Just make sure you're wiping off your squeegee and keeping it super clean. David, what happens when it's wintertime and you don't have an indoor place? Then that's pretty much it. Then you're not tinting, unfortunately, because the wintertime, number one, is cold. So, I mean, you got to work with your hands, and you can't work with, I mean, some people work with gloves, but it just becomes miserable. Plus, if it's freezing temperatures, then the water is going to end up freezing. You're not going to be able to push it out. So you're just going to be spinning your wheels, and it's going to be really frustrating. I've never really done it, but it sounds like a nightmare. So if that's the case, do something. Rent one of those storage units. You may not need to bring your clients with you, or they might not need to go. Like upsell it like a free service, like a free pickup and drop off. And you take the car and you take it to like a storage unit. You know, a big enough storage unit that you can pull it in. Or they have cheap little garages that you can purchase. I believe they're like $300-400 a month. Really just depends. But if you don't have the scrap for that and you don't have a home garage, there's really nothing you can do. So unfortunately, that's just the name of that game. Let's see. Top Young Killer 43. Do you leave a gap at the top? Do you leave a gap at the top? If so, what is your reason? At the shop I work at, I hand cut all windows and we go to the very top, but other shops have a gap. Okay, so it really it depends on preference. Me, I leave typically an 1/8 to a 32nd. An 1/8 inch or smaller, nothing ever bigger than that. And for you guys that don't know what he's talking about basically shaving, leaving a gap, a micro gap, and then shaving it or filing it. If I have time, it really just depends, because our shop will, let's just say a 4-door sedan, a shop can range anywhere from 180 up to, I believe it's 480, 580. So I mean, if they're going with an entry-level film and it's just bottom barrel and they're just trying to get some film on their tint on their car, then I necessarily won't do that. But if they're paying $500, $600, $700 for a tint job, then most of the time, then I'll probably file the edges, and I'll only do it on frameless windows. Even if it's like a $500 or $600 tint job, I won't do it like on sedans or framed windows. Some people do it. I just don't. I don't see the necessity of it. it takes a lot longer. You have to lay the window down, wait for it to completely dry, and then file it or shave it. And if you mess up on the shave, like with the razor blade and the film, and you don't wait long enough for the film to dry, and it lifts up just a little bit when you do it, it's completely obvious. There's going to be a little bit of a gap. And it just leaves a big room for error. So if you have the time and they're paying buco bucks, then I say go ahead and go for it. It gives it a little extra. But to be honest, people usually can't tell. Unless it's like an inch gap, you know, people that are buying tint that aren't in the industry can't really tell the difference between a shaved edge and then an eighth of an inch gap. Unless you point it out and you tell them, then they're like, cool. But that's pretty much it. It doesn't ruffle any feathers. It doesn't get them all happy. It is what it is, type of thing. But for like coupes, like open frame windows, it's a nice touch to do it. I'll do it from time to time if the time that I have in my schedule allows for it. Plus, if they're paying a decent dollar amount for that tint, then yeah, I'll go ahead and shave or file the edges. Jaybird, can you do a file video one day? Sure, I can do a file video one day. I prefer to file versus shave, so I can definitely do it. But if you go online and you go on on Facebook and you go to let's say there's all kinds of forums. Let me see here. Hold on one second. I can tell you right now. I can tell you a bunch of awesome forums on Facebook and groups to join. Obviously, the group Window Tinting Business. It's the other page. It's the Facebook page for this channel. That's one to join. And I'm just going to take a second here just to note that we are live here, just to share with other guys. But Mike Sanchez on Facebook, he's got a lot of great videos on filing and shaving. He's like nuts about it. He loves it. So Mike Sanchez, if you watch this video, what's up? You're probably going to get a lot of requests for shave videos. All right, so some good groups to join online for like some social media and getting into the industry and maybe talking to other tinters. Let's see here. Car Film Pros is a really good one. Window Film Revolution is a good one. Window Film League, obviously Window Tinting Business because that's what we do. This is us. Window Film Pros is probably one of the biggest ones. They have like I don't know, like 4,000, almost 5,000 members. So those are just a couple really good networking places to go and talk to other tinters on Facebook. So let's see here. Let me go back to the chat here. Hope y'all can see me. I'm on a tripod here, and I feel weird because it's kind of like up, so it's like y'all are like looking down on me. I feel like I need to go to the garage. I need to get. Oh, top young killer. You meant file every window, never shave due to lift reasons. Yeah, filing every window, I wouldn't do it. Not every single window. I just don't have the time. You know, if I'm cranking out X amount of cars per day, It takes longer for me to file every window down, and like I said, it's just not. It doesn't make a huge difference. So that's why I don't do it. Oh, Tint Dude, yeah, you're right. JY's tintdude.com. It's like one of the premier, like the first window tint industry websites. So go ahead and check out Tint Dude. Tint Dude's got a whole bunch of good stuff. Okay. Let's see. Wow, this mic picks up a lot. I'm monitoring it and I just heard it, so it's weird. Alphapreneur 2017. I need to get what a garage to up my skills, maybe work for free or something like that. I went to school for tinting, but I am not good enough at it yet to take on work. Okay, so to up my skills. If you're just starting out and you feel like you're not ready to take on customers, or you're not ready to take on business without, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not going to be perfect. I remember the first time I did a gig, it was just for 2 roll-ups, and it was like $60 or something like that. And I was so nervous, and I was like, that I ended up just giving it for free. And I told the guy, he was a guy that worked at a dealership that was like sending me more work. So I just kind of laid it off like a freebie type thing for being solid and sending me work. But if you feel like you got to wait until you're ready, that time will never come. You just got to pull the trigger. There are some gigs I remember when I first started that were horrible, like stuff that I wouldn't do now, but like I thought was good at the time. So if that's the case, I mean, obviously you want to put out the best possible work, especially if you're charging people for it. But if you feel that you're not ready yet, then find a family member's car, find your car, tint it, wait a week, wait 2 weeks, and strip it. And then that'll give you some practice on how to strip windows also, and then tint it and strip it and tint it and keep doing it. I mean, the fundamentals are pretty much the same. Hand cutting or plotter is the same. The fundamentals are the same, so it's just repetition. And then when you feel like you're good enough, then that's when you can start charging people for work. Alphapreneur 2017. Did you go to school for window tinting, or did you just get a job at a shop? I did not go to school for window tinting. When I started window tinting, just to let you guys know, I mean, a little backstory about me. I was coming out of a landscaping business that I owned that failed miserably. So I was in the landscaping business and it failed miserably, and I was looking for a job, and everyone was telling me to go out and get a regular 9 to 5, and I didn't want to do that because I don't know, I just didn't want to. So I was researching and I found window tinting, and I looked it up, and I crunched some of the numbers that, you can make some decent money in window tinting. So I started watching a lot of videos. I started watching videos from a guy named Matt over at Tint Stuff. He's another YouTube channel. He hasn't done a video in about 3 or 4 years, but he's one of the first guys. Also, Ralph Van Pelt was another guy I started watching. And I watched and I probably watched every video on YouTube out there. After that, I ordered some film myself. I called Max Pro. I started off with Max Pro. I ordered film from Max Pro, and then I got my tools from 44tools.com, and I just started tinting every car I can do. My cars, my family's cars, everyone's cars. And I think I did about a dozen cars. Now, keep in mind, my first car took me 6.5 hours to do. Now, it would take me like an hour and a half, taking my time. So it wasn't easy, and it's definitely frustrating. But it's just like one of those things. It's just repetition. You got to learn the steps first, learn the steps correctly, and then as you repeat it and keep doing it, you're going to get faster and faster, I promise you. No, I didn't go to school. I just taught myself, essentially. But that's one reason why I started this channel, because Matt wasn't doing videos anymore, and Ralph was doing videos, but he was the only guy doing videos. And I kind of wanted to do videos, and I thought I could help out, and I thought I could inspire other people. Plus, I started from the ground up. I didn't know anything about tint when I started. So I know exactly how people are feeling when they're trying to get into the industry, or is it worth it, or can they make a living, can they support their family? I've been through it all, so I thought I'd be a good resource to be able to help other people do the same thing. So I started doing that. I started doing work for myself. After about 3 months, I went and applied at a shop, a job at a shop, and it wasn't the greatest shop. But working at a shop will definitely improve your skills, because you can only do so much by yourself when you're first starting. But at a shop, you get a lot. So what I would suggest is get your tints down to 2 hours, minimum 2 hours. Then at that point, go to a shop, and then they'll make you hand cut a car, or if it's not hand cut, it's a plotter. But learn to hand cut first. And maybe I should do some videos on plotters, because no one really taught me. It's just like that's something you learn as you go. But I should probably do that, just so that if you go into a tint shop and they hand you if they tell you go on the plotter, or they hand you a plotted piece of film, like you're gonna need to know how to weed it, where to lay it down, how to lay it. So maybe I should do a video on that. But definitely hand cut first, and then make sure you get your time down to at least 2 hours, hour and a half to 2 hours. And you most of the time, as long as you have clean work and it's 2 hours, you can get a job at a shop. Have you noticed with light soap solution you get more specks and creases? Just from Jaybird575. I keep my soap solution very, very consistent. I mean, everything I do is very, very consistent. I'll have I think it's a 32-ounce bottle, or I think it's 2.5 liters. I don't know, something like that. And I squeeze this exact same amount every single time. So my slip solution really doesn't change. Some people say that during the winter time, or maybe if it's raining out and the sun isn't out, to lighten your soap solution so that it tacks a little bit better, and then but if it's like sunny out, it'll tack like super quickly. But the creases, if you're dry creasing it when you're doing your installs, make sure the film is wet. Obviously, spray it down on the outside, and yeah, and if it's still dry crease, then I would definitely increase the soap mixture so it's not tacking down. That means it's probably tacking down, and then you're rolling over it with your squeegee, and that's where it's creasing. The specs part, a heavy amount of soap, a light amount of soap, it really doesn't matter. If your specs, that doesn't affect dirt. Dirt's either going to be there or it's not. So if that's the case, it might be in your cleaning process. So double check your cleaning process and make sure that it's clean, using clean rags, wiping everything down as best as you can. If there's felt, I mean, just be easy with the felt. Don't be going in there going crazy on it, because then you'll start breaking up the felt on the sides. Winfield Jenkins, what is the going price for tinting down where you live? I'm getting slammed here because I think I might not be charging enough, and I'm 3 weeks behind, which is a great thing. Every market's different, and every place is different. What I charge here is completely different from what we charge in Alabama, and what we charge here is going to be different than what you charge in Oklahoma. So the markets are a little bit different. What I typically do if I'm entering a new market, what I would do is I would call 10 local shops and get a price for like an average sedan. Let's just call it a sedan, four-door sedan. And then I'll get a price range. So from there, that's known as your fair market value, basically what they're charging. Any extreme outliers, like if here's your price range and then there's one that's super low or there's one that's super high, just kick those out and you'll get an average. What I do is I stay within the top 20% of that average. So, and it really just depends. And you can figure out, at that point, you can figure out what the average car is you're going to charge for the average car, and then, figure out how much the average car in film you're going to use and how much you're paying for film, and then you can kind of figure out the math and determine, what your percentages, your profit margins are. But that's what I would do. Call about 10 shops in the area, get an average price range, and then stay within the top 20%. If you're 3 weeks behind and you're getting slammed, then it sounds like you're not charging enough. It sounds like your work is really good and you're cranking out fast work, and everyone's trying to get in there. Typically right now it's not a time that people are all slamming in. So if you're that busy, that's a really good thing. Typically people are more busy in the March and spring. Like in the springtime after tax time when people get their money. So if that's the case, I would probably suggest, if you're 3 weeks behind, I would suggest increasing your prices, because if that's that good, then people will pay more for it. So that's what I would do. Jaybird, same question on side creases. I got a really short attention span, and really I got the memory of a goldfish. So just retype the question, and I'll be able to go ahead and do it. I always end up with creases on the sides of the tint after I place the tint in the back in the glass. I fold the tint back to squish it into the seals. Hope this makes sense. I always end up with creases on the sides of the tint after I place the tint. Corey Gunny. I'm assuming you're talking about side windows. I'm assuming you're top loading. And if you're top loading, are you talking about those little creases on the sides? Type me back and let me know in the comments below what you mean. I think it's those creases on the sides. And that happens when you top load, because you're top loading, you set the top half and you roll the window up and you start going to the bottom half, but you pull the corners inwards to tuck them, and you end up pinching right here and right here. So if you do that, don't tack down so much from the top. So let's say here's the window. Give 1 or 2 swipes at the top. Don't go all the way down, because when you have to fold those corners out to tuck them in, you're putting pressure right at that bend. So what I would suggest is bring up the sweep up a little bit when you're squeegeeing it initially. Just 1 or 2, and keep it up there, and then watch the corners as you're pushing the corner in. Watch where the film is going to bend, and make sure you're not creasing it. Make sure it's just smooth, and then that way you'll see what I'm talking about when you do it. It makes more sense when you do it. But just tack 1 or 2 at the very top, 1 swipe. Don't go so far down. It'll make it a little bit easier. Give a little bit less pressure on those sides, right where the film does bend. And if you do bend it right there or crease it right there, what I suggest is hitting a little bit of heat, and then hitting it with a little chiseler. And typically that should be able to push it out and lay down it. But it's common. A lot of people that top load have that problem. Okay, so yeah, I mean, you guys are talking about the creases on the sides when you top load. Like I said, it's just one of those things that happens, that like when you tack it down and you're moving the bottom part so you can get the corner in, you're bending the film right here. So what you do is you just got to be super light about it, and don't be aggressive with it. And like I said, just bring your sweeps up a little higher. So you're just doing maybe the top third and sitting halfway, and then that way you have a little bit more wiggle room for that corner to move in and out. Jaybird, good. I'm glad that answered your question. Ba, 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 ba. Looks like a couple of you guys have had that problem. Like I said, one of the biggest things, and I wish I had a heat gun, but I don't have any tools. If you do get those creases, you can work them out. It's not a problem. A popsicle stick is really good. A buddy of mine showed me that, because it's super soft but hard enough that it can push the air out and lay it down. And what I do, so let's say here's the pillar, and then here's the glass. I hope I'm gonna make sure I'm in frame here. Hold on. So here's the pillar, and here's the glass right here. Okay. So let's say here's the pillar, and then here's the crease right here. So if I have a heat gun, or let's put it here. If there's a crease here and I have a heat gun, I'm showing the heat gun. What a lot of people do is they put it right on the heat, like right where the crease is at. The problem is that pillar is gonna have rubber right here, and you're gonna end up burning it and then destroying it, and you're going to look horrible, and it's going to make you look totally unprofessional. So what you do is, instead of going at a 90, you angle it and go towards the outside. So now the air is blowing onto the glass and not coming onto the pillar. So you're blowing maybe an inch or two just outside the crease, not even on the crease, But what you're going to do is you're going to heat up this glass in this area, and the heat is going to transfer to where the crease is now. And then in that way, you're heating up that area, getting some of the moisture out of there, but you're not going to damage the rubber that's on the pillar this way. And then just put your fingers behind it, and it's going to get warm, and then it's going to get warmer, and then it's going to start to hurt. And that's what I call the point of pain. Once it starts to hurt, take the heat off. Because you go too hot and you're going to over dry and essentially burn the film. So don't go too hot, but then that's a good tip that you can heat that area and get those creases out without damaging the rubber. I see a lot of people do that, so avoid that. I heat the creases from the outside, not the inside. If you heat the creases from the inside, Corey, you could burn the film. And plus, film only shrinks up and down. So if you have a crease or a crimp right here and you heat it, it's gonna bind on you. So it doesn't shrink that way. So it's gonna bind. So don't shrink from the inside, shrink from the outside. Jaybird, does cutting patterns too long mess you up? Should they be cut dead on? It really just depends. It really depends on your style. Some outside gaskets from the outside, the weather strip is higher than the inside. And some people like to keep it long enough to at least tuck it underneath that part. Me, as long as there's no light gap, then I'll just cut it just like that. So if you're hand cutting, what I do is that I'll lay the film on, I'll cut one side and cut the bottom, or if you want to tack it first, you can do that too. Cut one side, then the bottom, then I'll shift it 1/4 of an inch, cut the other side, shift it back, so now I have 1/8 on both sides, and I keep the bottom directly in line with the windowsill. And then I tack it down, so then I lift it up and roll the window down, cut the top edge. So now my film is literally in line with the top edge and then in line with the weather strip. The thing is that if I was filing, that would be wrong, but I don't file, so I leave 1/8 of an inch gap. So if I have if I'm cut even to the top of the glass and I shifted 1/8 of an inch, that means that film that was perfectly on top of that weather strip is going to shift 1/8 of an inch down, and now you're going to have no light gap. If you have 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, the longer you leave it, the harder it is to top load because you have all that excess film. So that's the way I cut, and that's the way I hand cut, and I never have a problem with it. Winfield Jenkins, because of your videos, my business is successful, and I will be calling other shops for pricing. Thanks so much for the help. Oh, well, I'm glad I'm helping you out, brother. Really, really glad I'm helping you out. I mean, that's the whole point of this this whole video and this whole channel, to be honest. Yeah, when you're calling other shops, obviously don't tell them who you are. Just ask, how much you charge for a sedan, in and out. Simo Nay, what's the cost in material film for every car you do, and what's the cost of labor if you have an employee or subcontractor? My material cost typically is anywhere between 10 to 15% if I'm doing like a bigger gig, like 5 cars. I did like 5 cars a few weeks back for a company, and I think my waste was at my film material cost was at 20%. But I was giving them a deal essentially. So 10% is kind of hard. 15% makes it a little bit easier. 20% you're kind of giving it away. Not giving it away, but you're definitely going to be more affordable than you are in the market. So, and it all depends on your film cost too. When I was using Max Pro, I was down to 47 cents a square foot. Lumar ATR is like $1 and a penny a square foot. So I mean, it's literally double. So, but you end up what you pay for with quality and quantity, not quantity, but more quality. People are reliable with Lumar. That's why people use Lumar. If you have no name and you don't like have like a franchise business or something like a Tint World or something like that, people buy Lumar and people buy 3M because they're name brands. So if they don't trust you or don't know your business from Adam, but you use XYZ film, if you use 3M or Lumar, they're trusted. Anyone can Google what's the best window film, and Lumar is going to pop up. So if you're using Lumar, they're going to assume you're good. So that's why people use it. If you're good, then then at that point, and you build a reputation, then you can start building up and using other films that may not cost you as much, and maybe you make a better profit margin. Some people can't afford $500 or $600 for window tint, and some people can only do $150 jobs. And if that's the case, you kind of got you're stuck within your market. And if people in Florida are charging $300 for the tint, and you charge $300, but everyone else charges $200, you're not going to get any work. I don't care if you're the best tinter in the world, they're not going to pay $100 more than everyone else. I mean, you'll get a few people to bite, especially if you're a good salesman, but on the whole, average-wise, you're going to lose out. In regards to cost of labor for an employee or a subcontractor, if I was to do something like that, and I don't, before I hire another tinter, what I would do is I would hire an assistant for me. So a lot of my time, a third of my time is prepping glass and cleaning up and wiping down and stickers and cleaning glass with glass cleaner and things like that. So I would hire an assistant first before I'd hire a full-on other tinter. But if you're going to hire another tinter, I just keep it simple. I give them 30%, 30 to 33%, no more, no less. That way they get a third of the money that they're making. I get a third because I'm the owner, and I put the risk up for having the business, and then a third back to the business itself to cover your overhead, tools, film, slip solution, things of that nature. So I hope that answered your question. B. Johnson 462. How often are you top loading compared to pulling seal panels when tinting? I favor bottom loading now. Before that was not the case. I favored top loading previously. But now my go-to, if I can do it, is bottom load every time, as much as I can. But there are some instances where I can't, like Chevy Silverados or GMC Sierras. They're basically the same thing. Pulling the seal is easy, but putting it back in is really, really difficult. The locking mechanism gets in the way, and it becomes a bigger and longer process. So it's not a preference of whether I like to top load or bottom load. It really just depends on which one is going to be faster. I know that I can install a top load install in like 6 minutes or something like that. But if I can pull a seal, I can install bottom load in like 4 or something. I just know that bottom loading is quicker and cleaner for me. But if it takes me 7.5 minutes to pull the seal or pull the door panel off, then it takes longer for me to do that versus just top loading. So whichever is the faster solution is the one I go with. Simone, what percentage of the price you charge for a job is profit? So what's your profit margins? Here's a good example. I'll typically charge anywhere between 10 to 15% would just be the material cost. So whatever I'm doing, let's say it's a $150 job, 10% of that would be $15 in material. It's not going to be that. I'm just giving examples. Now, if you're mobile, it's a different story. Mobile versus having a shop, they have different overheads. But you also have to factor in your gas. You have to factor in your tools. You got to factor in water, soap, insurance, your LLC the cost of your LLC per year. All those things factor in. But if you're a mobile guy and you're just working by yourself and you're answering the phone by yourself and you're a solo job, I'd probably say a realistic profit margin would be in the 60-65 percentile range. That's your profit, but you got to keep in mind you got to cover your overhead, so the cost of doing business. Plus, you got to keep money in the accounts for the business itself. So, whatever your overhead is, figure that out, and the remaining profits, chop that in half. So, and then you take one half and you give the business the other half. That way, the money is liquid. I mean, the business is liquid. So if the business ever needs something, you have the money in the account to go pay for it. So that's pretty much it. You always have to cover your overhead. The business has to make money, and you have to make money. Top Young Killer, what is your outlook on global? My idea on global is the good stuff. It's good stuff. I'll be very honest with you. Um, People that are just starting out, and if they have the cheddar to do it, they want to go with 3M or Lumar, just because they're, like I said, they're name brands and people can trust them. But some people can't afford to pay the prices that they charge for CTX. For a box of CTX from Lumar is like $500 or $600. That's a lot of money, and that's just one shade, and you need to carry 3 shades or 4 in some cases. So what is that? Let's just say it's $500. You need to carry 4 shades. That's $2,000 for material just for one line. That's just your, and then you have your hybrid lines and others. Global, I've never used it. Keep in mind, but I've heard great things. I hear Global is a good price point and a quality film. And I've touched base with a lot of tinters in the industry that have been here for a long time and making good money and making a good living, and they swear by it. How do you build a name brand? Simo, hey, is there any company I can hire to do this for me? No, not really. Not really. I mean, you got to, your name brand is your reputation. How did you build your reputation in high school? How do people know who you are and how you are? It's something that's built slowly. If you're looking to do something quick and fast, it's not going to happen. Fly-by-night gigs typically don't happen, typically don't work. Excuse me. I'm burning up in here, so I'm going to turn on the fan. Build up your clientele, do good work. Don't crank out horrible work and questionable work. If you think in your head, ooh, I probably should redo it, then you probably should redo it. Or if it doesn't look perfect to you, then you probably should redo it. Think of it in your head when you're tinting a car. If it's your personal car, would you be happy with it? And if it's not a yes and it's a no, redo it. Because number one, it takes longer. If, like, let's say you have a tiny little crease and you're like, maybe they'll get away with it, and you let that car go, maybe they come back in 3 weeks. Now it takes you 2 hours to remove that back window, or an hour to scrape off all the glue, when you could have just re-ripped it off in 30 seconds and redo it right then and right there. Plus, good work will bring you back more work. People will see the work and they'll refer you more. So do quality work, and building a brand and building a name and building a good reputation just takes time. Jaybird, torch shrink, is it faster or heat gun? Torch shrinking is much faster, but if you have an open shop and people are watching you, people freak out when you bring a torch to their $50,000 or $100,000 vehicle. Plus, you can burn film really quickly, so it's kind of one of those things is when you work with a torch and you work with it a lot, then the yes shrinking is a lot faster, but you have to know what you're doing or else you can really do some serious damage. And I've seen people shrink back windows with torches, but I've never seen them shrink a side window. So just be careful. Either way. Baby powder, Irish Spring, or dryer sheets? Or back wet shrink or dryer sheets? All right, I'll give you my opinion. Baby powder, I feel like it lets the film move too much. You got to be able to tack it down, and I know you can just lift it up and wet it down and tack it down, but I don't pretty like it. Plus, I feel like it gets a little messy for me. Irish Spring, you know who made Irish Spring famous is Ralph Van Pelt, because Ralph has over 11,000 subscribers, and he uses Irish Spring. This is like one of his go-tos. I've never used Irish Spring. It's probably pretty much the same thing as dryer sheets. I should probably switch from dryer sheets to Irish Spring. I've heard and I've read stories that dryer sheets would give you like cancer eventually. So, and I use like 10 dryer sheets a day, daily, 6 days a week. So I should probably do that. Wet shrinking, I don't wet shrink. Very little or special circumstances I wet shrink. Like if it's a super easy shrink or like an SUV where like the glass is pretty much 90 degrees, then at that point I'll wet shrink it. But you got to be very careful, and you got to know what you're doing when you wet shrink, because you're laying certain portions down, so that film is not going to be shrunk, and you're aggressively shrinking this one sliver of finger of tint. So it's not a really even way to do it. So if I had to choose or give suggestions on any way, the Irish Spring soap would probably be number one, even though I don't use it. And then dryer sheets, then baby powder, then wet shrink. How fast can someone learn how to tint from the point of not knowing how to tint at all until they can be left alone in a shop producing money? How fast can someone learn? It's really just depends on you personally, how motivated you are, and and what if it's a side job, you're really not that motivated. You make $100, make $200, that's good. But if you have no job at all and you have a wife and 2 kids that you need to support, $100 ain't gonna be paying the bills. You need to be, that's motivation right there. Me personally, it took me 3 months before I was in the shop. But that's me. I was really, really motivated. I didn't want to get a regular job. I wanted to be a window tinter. So it really just depends on how motivated you are. Some people, I know people that tinted for over a year and have never charged anyone because they're too scared to make that jump into that leap from hobby slash friend that knows how to tint to full on professional. And those are just one of the things you just got to do when you sometimes you just got to bite the bullet and say, yes, I'm ready. And if worst case scenario, if you do a horrible job and you charged $180, we'll charge them 90 or charge them $100 and be like, here, $80 then. You just make them feel good about it. Be like, you know what, you're an awesome person. I feel good about this. Why don't I go ahead and knock off 30, 40, $50 for you? It's just going to make them feel better. Don't say, hey, you know what, this is kind of my first car and I kind of feel weird about it and whatnot, so let me just charge you half. Like, don't say that, obviously, because you're not going to get any referrals that way. Kind of one of those things, you got to fake it till you make it type things. Jaybird, Ralph is the man. Yeah, he is. He's awesome. Aside from tinting and good friendly customer service, what is the most important thing a future employee must know how to do before you hire them? How do I answer this question? It's really basic. It's super, super basic, to be honest. If I needed an employee, obviously, they need to be able to tint within 2 hours and do clean work. They need to be able to smile. If they're talking to customers, then yeah, customer service is important. But there's some guys that never talk to customers. The girl at the front desk or secretary talks to them, closes the deal, gets the keys, and you just run up and get the keys and go tint it. You never really meet them. Personally, I like to meet the customers. I like to be friendly, smile, say hi, drop off the car, give them some pointers about it, keep your windows up, stickers, blah, blah, blah. It makes it nice. It comes off really friendly. Plus, they might be able to break you off a tip. I know that you're already making money. I've owned my own business, and I've charged people where they know I'm the owner and I'm making money off of this, and they still tip me on top of it. You can just make a little extra money that way, just being nice. But for an employer, the main thing, if I was going to employ someone or if I was looking to get a job, answer your phone when they call you. And obviously, if it's like 9 o'clock at night or midnight, then don't do that. But answer the phone when they're calling you and you're supposed to be at work. Show up to work on time. Do your work and don't be drama. That's pretty much it. If you can do those 4 things, you'll make 50 grand minimum. Easy. B. Johnson, do you install PPF? No, I don't install PPF yet. I'm actually going to be going to a training class in Virginia, the Lumar training class, to learn how to do PPF. And I think it's like a 3 or 4 day course. And then after that, it's like a tinting course. You're not going to be walking out being a rock star, laying out PPF like a pro after the class, but it gives a really good foundation. And after that, I'll lay PPF. Custom decals, vinyl wraps, wrapping cars. As long as anything that automotive aftermarket related is going to be good to learn. I don't just know how to do windows, but some people laugh at it, but I do. I use plasti dip and black out emblems. I've done gigs where I blacked out rims with plasti dip. So you can add your services, and the more services you can provide within the automotive aftermarket industry, it's beneficial, because then you're not just a one-trick pony. If they don't want tint, they're out. But maybe you can sell them on PPF. Maybe you can sell them on blacking out their emblems. Maybe you can sell them on a front windshield solution, a super clean, and where it's kind of like Rain-X, but even more. Aquapel, I think, is one. Those tiny little services that can increase the bottom line and diversify your business. David Ortiz, how do you know which car is harder than others? Experience. I can tell you right off the bat, some cars to avoid when you're brand new. Jetta, Jetta Golf, the GTI Golf, the '07 through '08. That's the same model. That's nearly impossible. And I don't think they did it in '09, but then 10 to 14 is medium, and then 14 on to the newer models is a little bit easier. Chargers, stay away from chargers. They're really hard. The back windows are hard to shrink because it takes a lot of shrinking. You got to really know what you're doing. Obviously, bugs, older Corvettes, stay away from. Those are some of the few cars that I'd stay away from. Really bubbly cars. But as a whole, like I don't have a list of cars that are hard and easy. It's just something that you gotta learn. And my list, it's all relative. My list might be different than yours. You might think bugs are easy, and I think bugs are hard. Who knows? You know, so it's all different. You gotta build your own list, essentially. Jaybird, what are tips for speed plotters focusing? I don't know what you mean there. Retype that. Maybe I'm kind of confused with what you're asking there. What's the most rent that is worth paying for a great location before it's not worth renting at all? When the rent costs more than what you can make. Real simple. I'm not trying to be smart, but you wanna have your quality needs to be up at a certain level. So you need to be able. I mean, you don't want to be working at the back of like a junkyard because then people are like question it. But if you're like working out of the Taj Mahal, people are going to expect to pay supreme prices. So if you're paying rent, pay enough where you know you can cover it, but don't let it eat up all your profits because you got to make money too. So above a certain standard, but not any higher than that, you don't need it. Pro shop versus dealership. A pro shop versus dealership. Working for? Are you asking to work for a pro shop versus dealership, or going to a pro shop versus dealership? B. Johnson, specify. I don't know what you're asking. You said pro shop versus dealership. Going and getting your work done, or working for? They both have perks. Oh, to do cars faster. Let me see here. What are tips for speed plotters? Okay. For like 2-hour jobs. I know for a fact I can hand cut any car, some 4-door sedan, typically an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's me taking my time, not really rushing, not double cutting. I can cut every single window one at a time. But there's other ways to speed it up. If I double cut, I can speed it up, and other little tricks. But a plotter is definitely going to speed you up. With a plotter, the same car, hand cutting would take me an hour and a half to 2 hours. Plotting would take me about an hour and 15. So just plotting is just a lot faster. The problem is the plotter, typically a brand new plotter is going to cost you $5,000, and the software is going to cost you $120 a month. The software is easy because you're going to go from 3 cars a day to 6 cars a day like that. So the $120 a month isn't a problem, but a lot of people have a problem with the $5,000 down. So in my opinion, you should definitely know how to hand cut, but after you master hand cutting, then pick up a plotter when you can. Save your money, pick up a plotter. You'll double your workflow. Oh, okay. So B. Johnson asks, which is better, working for a pro shop versus a dealership? Which one would you go for? They both have their pros and cons. You can make some decent money with a dealership. Plus, if you're as an employee at the dealership, you get benefits, which is a good thing, health, dental, different things like that. Working at a pro shop, typically it's like a privately owned shop, so it's harder and more expensive to get benefits. But you can make a little, in my opinion, you can make a little bit more money at a shop versus a dealership. And it really just depends. If you're going there and they have a business and they have like a system set up and already ready, and you're joining their team, you're probably not going to make a lot of money at a dealership. But if you walk up to a dealership that doesn't do their tinting in-house, and you present this option that, hey, I can do tinting in-house, I can preload your vehicles for you, adjust and add it to the addendum and give it to you, and then you can make a little bit more money. If you set up a deal like that, then you could probably make a little bit more money. I know guys that are making $90,000 to $100,000, maybe more, with dealerships through that. But it really just depends, situational, I guess. Oh, okay. Obviously, cleaner cars or newer cars are cleaner, so they're faster, of course. Personally, if I personally, I would typically charge if the car is 10 years old or older. I'll charge like an upcharge, like 20 or 30% more, because there's dirt and grime in there. It takes longer, so therefore more time equals more money. But as far as working on the cars, it's clearly easier if the car is brand new because you just clean it and swipe it. It doesn't have 15, 20 years of dirt and grime. So if I had my choice between an old car and a new car to tint, a new car, of course. Of course. Let's see. How long have we been going? I don't know. Oh, almost an hour. Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, charge more for dirt windows. Yeah, I mean it's common. If the car's 15 years old or 10 years old, there's all kinds of dirt and grime and junk in there. If it's a dirty car, it's going to take you longer. Or you can take the same time and just explain it to them. Take the same time, but it's not going to come out as clean. So you got to work. Your work has to be clean. So you got to charge more. Got it. Well, this has been kind of been fun. I'm working on this. I still want to do. I still want to do live streams. My problem is that when I tried to live stream before, my laptop is just not strong enough. So I'm saving up some cheddar from the channel to be able to buy a new laptop so that I can do like more integrated cool things. But I don't feel. Plus, I'm not really organized as much as I could be. When you live stream versus when I do just like a regular upload video, like I do retakes and I edit and I cut. So that when you have to do it live and it all has to be organized, I have a problem doing that because I don't like script my videos. I don't even put like plotters points, not plotter points. What is it? Bullet points. You know, things I want to go over. So I'm probably going to be a little bit more organized. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable doing live streaming. To be honest, it's not that as easy as it looks. If I make it look easy, then that's what I mean. Have I ever used Sharpies to hand cut? Yeah, I mean, I guess I could, but just don't cut the car, and then you don't need to use a Sharpie. Some people use Sharpies, and then that way they never cut the car, and that's never a problem for them, and that's fine. But I know how not to cut a car, and I still do it from time to time, unfortunately. But you just learn not to cut the car or damage the car. Whichever way is the quickest with the least amount of damage, that's the route you want to go. JR, hey Patrick, how do you price your tint jobs? Is there a formula you use? My pricing, like I said earlier in this video, someone asked about pricing. You're gonna have to charge the fair market value, figure out what everyone else is charging, get a low and a high end on an average range, and be in the top 20% of that. That's the way I do it. That's the way I figure it out. But then you can break down your cost per square foot and your material costs and your profit margins from that. And if you guys have questions or concerns about like how to break down the math and stuff like that, I can do a video. Let me know in the comments below. I can do a video for that, like how to figure out all that math, just so you know. Like Mark Cuban says, you have to know your numbers to know your business. Do you tape felt or door panels? No, I don't tape. I don't tape. Um, I usually don't tape. No, I know. Actually, I don't tape. No, I don't. So I'm really careful, and I typically bottom load. So when I bottom load, I'll load one side and push, and I'll fold up the film, and then I have all the film on the other side, and I just basically push it all in. So it's basically pushing any felt that would be on the glass. But I also have a really, really good cleaning process. Um, Jaybird, are 5-gallon tanks hard to work with versus hand sprayers? I don't like hand sprayers. If you've seen some of my videos, I use a junior pump. So I pump the top, and it's a tiny pressurized tank. It's like a 1.5 or 2 liter tank, 2 liter. The 5-gallon tanks, they get really heavy, so you typically have to put them on like some sort of rolling cart. They have 3 gallon tanks. The sprayers are a lot better, and obviously you don't have to refill them as often. But the 3 gallon tanks are a little bit more manageable if you're just carrying it and moving it around. But I think that's my 2 cents on that. And realistically, if you can build your own tank, and you can build your own tank and get all the stuff from Amazon and build your own tank for like $100 versus going to like 44 Tools and buying a tank or any other tool distributor. I think the minimum charge for a 3 gallon tank is like $250, and like if you want the 5 gallon, it's like $280, which is a lot of money for a tank when you can just build one yourself for $100. So that's my 2 cents on that. How do you keep water clean? The shop we use bottled water. So I go and run and get 15 gallons of water in the 5 gallon jugs. I usually get those once a week or something like that. But you know, where you fill up the water, it's just purified, filtered water. They say that the shop water has micro minerals in it that doesn't look very good in the tint. I don't know. They've always used bottled water, so I just use bottled water. In the future, I'll probably use it again because I'm a creature of habit. So that's that. Junior C01. What's a good tip for trying to get the film to lay on the dot matrix around the windshield? Most of the time, you're not going to get them laid down. A lot of people, what they'll do is if you really want to lay it down, what I would suggest is get like triple zero or quad zero steel wool and scrub, because what you're doing is you're cleaning between the dot matrix. So the dot matrix is a ceramic liner baked into the glass. It's ceramic that's baked into the glass. And the reason for that dot matrix is because they use a polyurethane to hold the glass in, and the glue is behind that dot matrix. So it stops UVs from breaking apart the polyurethane that holds the glass in, so your glass doesn't fall out. And the actual dots themselves, they're nothing. They're for aesthetic purposes. They serve zero purpose, except for they don't want to go from a solid black line to your clean windshield. So they go from a solid line, and they dot it from big dots to smaller dots just for aesthetic purposes. But besides that, there's really no point of a dot matrix. But if you wanted to lay it down, you really do. You don't have to. It's really common that they don't lay down. Go walk around and look at other tint jobs. I guarantee you 99.9% of the time you're going to see that's not laid down. But if you really want to lay it down, clean it with steel wool. You could probably use like Elmer's glue, clear Elmer's glue. You can lay the film and heat it, or maybe throw it out in the sun for about 10 or 15 minutes and let it get baking, and then take a hard card with a paper towel and push the excess moisture out, or wait until the car's tinted and wait like 3 days later and then push again and push the dot matrix out, and you could do it that way. But it's a lot of work for something that you don't really need to do. Simone, here we go. Here's a question. If an employee damages a car, are they supposed to pay for the damages? And if so, how much do they make them pay? The whole thing or half, or do you just fire them after a certain amount of times? To make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. Okay, it's the cost of doing business. And everyone's different. Some shops, they'll charge their employees. Some shops give them a set point. Me personally, what I would do is anywhere between 2 to 3% of the total amount that they can produce for me. So here's a good example. If you're charging $350 per car, averaging per car, let's just say, just because I recently did the numbers, and I can do 5 cars a day, 6 days a week, and I take 2 weeks off vacation, so I'm working 50 weeks a year, I can produce for the shop $525,000. So damages, I would keep damages within 2 to 3% of that. If it goes above that, I would have a stern talking with the tinter and be like, listen, you gotta stop doing damages. But you know, damages are gonna happen as long as it's not once every other day. That's a huge problem and a liability. But if it happens from time to time, yeah, it's a cost of doing business. If you're an employee, if you're an owner and you're running a shop, things like that are gonna happen. If it happens too many times, give them a stern warning. If they're a good tinter, they're producing a lot of money for you. So it's just gonna you're not going to be as profitable. Like, that's pretty much it. So pay for it, and don't do that to the tinter, because in that case, the tinter's going to feel like you're going to burn them, and they may not want to tint for you. And keep in mind, they're still making a fair amount of money for you. And if you are going to fire them, don't fire them on the spot. Give them a few warnings, 1 to 2 warnings, or give them a very stern talking to before they even start the job. Just to let you know, this is how much you get in damages per year. If you exceed that, you're going to pay for it yourself. Just give them a warning. David Ortiz, I don't have much experience, but have the opportunity to work in a dealership. Do you think I should go for it? Yes. Yes, to any way you can get to tint more cars, do it. So if you got to work at a dealership and you're not making as much money, and typically dealerships just work with plotters, and there's a reason why. The dealerships would teach their crew how to work just with plotters, because if you teach them how to hand cut, they'll leave because they'll make more money elsewhere. But yeah, work for a dealership, because then you'll learn how to work with a plotter, and you'll be able to work on more cars. The more cars you do, the more experience you have, the faster you'll learn the industry. So I say go for it. JR, my opinion on American Standard window film, I have no opinion because I haven't really done any research on them. Besides that, I know that they're a window film and some people use them. That's pretty much it. I have no good or nothing bad to say about them. Opinion on Reno window film, Christine asked. I just recently used Reno 70 or 80 on a front windshield. It shrank really well, and it stuck. I had no problems. I have no complaints. It's really hard to find and define what is a good window film and what's not a good window film. If it shrinks well and it sticks and it lasts more than 7 years, then that's a good film to me, in my opinion. The shrinking portion and the installation part is easy. It's finding the long term. Like certain businesses or certain companies haven't been around long enough to determine a long-term study on whether or not their film's going to last. In my opinion, as long as a film lasts 7 to 10 years and you're working on automotive, not flat glass, but automotive, you should be good. Statistically, most people keep their personal cars for about 6 years and then they get rid of them. Statistically, the lifespan of a vehicle on the road, from brand new to getting on the road to being in the dump, is 11 years. So there's no, in my opinion, in my head, there's really not a whole lot of point for having a lifetime film, because statistically they're going to have a car for 10 years. Now, some people do have it for longer. If that's the case, 1 out of 100 or 1 out of 200 cars, a couple times a year, it's pennies. You're making way more versus the time and the film and the cost that it's going to do to redo that one car. In my opinion, as long as the film lasts more than 10 years, then you should be fine. Christine, do you pull bottom gaskets? Yes, I do, as much as I can, when I can. I like to bottom load, but if I can't do that or I cannot do it in a timely manner, then I top load. Top Young Killer. Okay, that's another. What's your warranty? Films will supply a warranty, but you can also give a shop warranty. I know some cats that own shops that are choosing films that don't have warranties because they're paying less money for them, and then just taking that money that they would pay for a warranty. So let's say you have a piece of film, right? And it costs $200 with no warranty, or $100 with a warranty. And let's say you buy 10 rolls of film from them. That's $1,000 you're paying just for a warranty. So if you opt to buy a film that doesn't have a warranty and you save that money and put it in the back burner, that when a car does come in and claims a warranty, you have the money to pay for it. And then that way you're not continuously paying money for a warranty that you may not never need. So some people are going that route, some people aren't. It really just depends. Most of the time, people just stick with whatever the manufacturer's warranty is. All right, guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I really appreciate y'all joining us. We're just reaching over an hour, so I'm going to go ahead and close it out because it is Sunday. We got The Walking Dead tonight. My babies are over in the other room, and my beautiful girlfriend is sitting there waiting also. So I'm going to wrap it up. I am going to be doing these every Sunday. I don't know if I'm going to be doing a structure, teaching you how to do something, just because I didn't find it beneficial and I need to structure it better. So until then, I'm just going to be hopping on Sundays doing some Q&As. If you're watching my other videos, and you have questions about that, or you had a question on a video, wait until Sunday. Just come until Sunday. I'm going to log in. We're going to go live, and you can ask me directly, and I'm going to get to as many questions as I can. And if you've been watching the whole time, you can see that I answered all the questions. I don't have 250,000 viewers and 1,000 people in here, so statistically, you're probably going to get your question answered. And I am really working. I know you guys are like the cream of the crop about my subscribers, the people that actually log in and check in and watch my videos when I live stream. I'm really pushing to get to 5,000 subscribers, so I need you to help me out with that. Share with anyone and everyone that you might think might benefit from it. I want to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the year, but if not, at least by the end of the first quarter next year. So help me out with that. And this is going to be for the rebroadcast. If you haven't watched this before, stay tuned next week on Sundays. In the afternoons, typically, we'll be doing some more Q&As or other structured videos. Check out some other videos in the top corners here for other videos that I've done. Make sure to subscribe. Hit that blue box in the corner to go ahead and subscribe as well. And I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And until next time, I'll see you soon.